Well, it says I'm live, and I'll believe it when I see it on my phone, on my Facebook. I can't tell you how many technical problems they're having here. So if you're out there, let me know. Oh, there I am. I see myself, so I know I'm live. Hello, everyone. It's 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern, 1 a.m. in Italy for Marzi, 8:30 a.m. in Australia on Wednesday morning, and we're here. And Marzi's the first one. Hi, honey. And Paula's here from Alaska. Chucho Leo is here from Michigan. Thank you so much. Let me know you guys are out there. Give me some thumbs up and stuff. I know it's working. So, you know, I'm doing this solo today, and so I turned on the system, and it gave me some new gobbledygook to try to figure out. And well, I did. I figured out. Oh, Dwin's here. Hey, Dwin. Thanks. Thanks very much. I'm glad to see it. Anne Marie's here from Door County. Claudine Silva Jones, who's a top fan. Thank you, Claudine, from Carlisle, Pennsylvania. Trang Fon's here from Southern California. Hello, Trang. I am in, where am I? I'm in Seattle. I'm in Seattle today, and I've got a nice hotel room. If you guys want to see, can you see my view out the window? This is the Institute for Functional Medicine's Applied Functional Medicine and Clinical Practice. This is a 5-day program that I teach at. I teach on the first day. It's a 5-day program where physicians come from all over the world, and they're here today from England and South Korea and Germany and the Philippines, and they all sell out. They always do, because doctors want to learn more about functional medicine. And yesterday was the welcome in the morning, and this is what the week's going to look like. And then they have lunch, and after that, I'm the first person they get. When we start talking science, I'm the first one that they get. And the topic that I talk about is about the gut and how important the gut is. And I see that I'm getting a reflection, so I'll do this and see if I can. I'm not sure I can see the screen, read the print, so I'll try to get that reflection out of there if I can. Let's see if that helps a little bit. So the first talk they get is me on the gut. And the result is we talk about, I've got about, it's about an hour and 45 minutes with them, which is really great because there's 5 topics I talk about, and I'm going to tell you the topics. But it's the first one that's science, and they just sit there and it's like, oh my God, this is why I'm here, but they're so overwhelmed. You know, there's a mnemonic we use when talking about the gut. And first we tell them that the reason I'm first, and the reason this is the topic that you're being given first, is because in functional medicine, we think it's most important that when in doubt, treat the gut. And the mnemonic is dig in, D-I-G-I-N. D stands for digestion, I stands for intestinal permeability, G stands for the gut health. What does G stand for? I'm a little nervous talking to you guys today because I had that problem getting set up here, right? I stands for the immune system, N stands for the nervous system, the enteric nervous system. And so that is the 5 categories that I talk about in the first talk that they get. And so the first point that I want to tell you is that when in doubt, treat the gut. Oh, G. G stands for gut microbiota. All the things. So it's digestion, intestinal permeability, gut microbiota, immune system function in the gut, dealing with inflammation, and the nervous system, and it's the enteric nervous system, the nervous system of the gut. So, so I'm in Seattle, and I gave my talk, and everyone really appreciated it. I think they learned a lot. Amal's here from Marina Del Rey, such a nice area to be from, and Elizabeth's from Apple Valley, California. There's Lynn, South Australia. Hi, Lynn. Nice to see you. Thank you so much. Paula Seeger's in the house. Cindy from Philadelphia, Doradas from New York City, Luann's from Aurora, Colorado, Joy's in Missouri. You know, it's so great to see people all over the world that are here for this. Thank you so much. It makes it worthwhile. And thanks for sending the thumbs up and the hearts. And that keeps me going. I really appreciate that. So the first thing when you're looking at how do you begin the journey to optimal health, the very first thing is when you're in doubt, make sure your gut's working well. And how do you know if the gut's working well? It's not because you don't have any pain. That for every one person that gets gut symptoms, there are 8 that don't. Now this is with wheat sensitivity, but it's true across the spectrum. For every one person that gets gut symptoms, 8 don't get gut symptoms. They get symptoms in their joints or in their brain. You should have seen it yesterday. I asked, how many people in the room know or suspect they have a sensitivity to wheat? Lift your hands, please. Lift them up. Over 90% of the room, about 300 docs, 90% of the room. I said, lift them high, please. Look around the room. Hold them up. Look around the room. And everyone went, wow. Wow. Okay, put your hands down. Thank you. This is not a talk to a celiac group where everyone has a sensitivity to wheat. This is a talk to doctors who already have learned quite a bit about holistic healthcare and realize wheat's a problem for them. This is this room. What do you think the numbers are in your practice? Right? And they just went, oh. And then I said, watch this. How many of you know or suspect if you have an inadvertent exposure to wheat, it seems to affect your brain? And 80% of the room raised their hand, about 80%, maybe 75, maybe 82, I don't know. But it was about 8 out of 10 people raised their hand. Look around the room and then, wow. Once again, this is your practice. Now, then the next slide I showed them was that the Alzheimer's Association this year tells us that 1 in 3 elders dies with Alzheimer's or dementia. 1 in 3 who are watching today. Every third person on this list of people that are here and say hello, you know, that take the time to say hello here, every third person, the statistics say will die with dementia. That's really scary. That is really scary. And one of the things that my goal is to let people know you don't have to be afraid of this any more than you're afraid of arthritis. Because if you address, see, everybody knows someone that had a heart attack and survived, changed their diet, started exercising, they look better than they've looked in years. Most of us know someone who had cancer, went through the protocols, whatever protocols were recommended, put in remission, they look great and they feel great. Very few of us know anyone diagnosed with brain deterioration who's doing great. That it scares us. It really scares us. And so we bury our heads in the sand. But if you're walking into rooms and forgetting, now wait a minute, why did I walk into the room? Every once in a while. Or where did I park my car? In this parking, I know it's in this parking lot, but where is it? If that's happening to you, I would wager you have inflammation in your brain. So the question is, where's the inflammation coming from? And just like any other health condition, you want optimal health, the yellow canary in the coal mine is your brain. Now, most of you know that about 100 years ago in coal mines, the workers in the coal mines would bring a canary in a cage down into the coal mines with them. Because if there was any gas leaks, carbon monoxide gas leaks, the canary would smell it and it would kill the canary. It would fall over dead. So every once in a while, the miners are looking at the cage to make sure the canary's alive. Because when the canary goes down, everybody gets out quickly because it affects canaries earlier than it affects humans. It's called the yellow canary in the coal mine. Well, your brain is the yellow canary in your body. So when you're getting brain symptoms, you got a problem. And it's not that I'm getting old, I'm not remembering the way I used to. How old are you? Well, I'm 38. No, that's not supposed to happen. You're supposed to be able to learn new languages in your 80s if you want to. You should have the brain power to be able to do that unless your brain has been wearing down continually over time. For those of you that have read my book, The Autoimmune Fix, or the second book came out last year, You Can Fix Your Brain, I'd recommend everyone read both of those books because they're really, really good books. We get so many great comments on it and letters of thank you and things. And, you know, the Autoimmune Fix won a National Book Award. And You Can Fix Your Brain, #1 in 7 categories on Amazon for brain health. #1. I mean, they're really good books. But you start to understand that these mechanisms that are going on go on for years, slowly killing off cells, slowly killing off cells, slowly killing off cells. And you can't tell. You can't. Now, a classic example, to give you guys a classic example of this. So how do you begin the journey to optimal health? Is by understanding the bigger picture. That's the first thing you have to do, is understand the bigger picture. That's why I'm talking about this. Do you guys get this? Understanding the bigger picture. So the first thing you have to do is identify where the imbalances are. And if you're going to identify if there's imbalances in your body, what system of the body do you think might show imbalances earliest? The yellow canary in the coal mine. What's that? Your brain. So that's why I believe everyone benefits from doing the Wheat Zoomer and the Neural Zoomer Plus tests. Marzi will post the link for those, the Wheat Zoomer and the Neural Zoomer Plus. Why? Because the Wheat Zoomer looks at 26 different components of wheat. It's the most comprehensive test out there in the world today. And you know, I lecture all over the world. So I see what laboratories in different countries are offering. There's nothing like the Wheat Zoomer anywhere in the world. And it's the most accurate measure for that too. It's called sensitivity and specificity. I won't get into the geekiness of it, but it's much more accurate than any other tests that are out there. No false negatives, no false positives. It's right on the money. That's why I think everyone should do the Wheat Zoomer, is because wheat is the most common trigger throwing gasoline on the fire, most common. And it also looks at the markers for intestinal permeability, the leaky gut, in the same test. And then the Neural Zoomer Plus, there's a Neural Zoomer that looks at 18 different markers, but the Neural Zoomer Plus looks at 48 markers, much more comprehensive. And you want to identify, do I have a problem here with wheat? Do I have intestinal permeability, the leaky gut? And do I have inflammation in my brain? And people don't want to know if they have inflammation in the brain. And I understand that. I understand why you don't want to know. But you have to take a look and see, because if you do, now you've got the biomarker that says you got a problem. Then you start applying the principles, and some of you who have my book, You Can Fix Your Brain, you know that the subtitle on the cover is just 1 hour a week to the best memory, productivity, and sleep you've ever had. Because that's the pathway to success, is 1 hour a week, applying the principle, doing one more thing. Next week, doing one more thing. Next week, doing one more thing. And over 6 months to a year, you got this for the rest of your life, right? So you identify the marker that says you got a problem, you apply the principles, you notice that you're functioning better, you feel better, and then in 6 months or a year, depending on the degree of how much is out of balance in the test, you retest and you confirm that it's all down to normal. There's no more inflammation in the brain. We haven't had a normal Wheat Zoomer Plus come back yet on a first test for anyone. No one's come back negative, because it's the yellow canary in the coal mine. And with all of the toxins that we're exposed to, that inflammation manifests in your body. So some people think, well, if everybody's got it, why spend the money for the test? Because you have to have the marker. Because 6 months, 8 months, a year from now, you're feeling better, but you have a little bit of a problem still going on. Well, maybe I'll do that test now and I'll check. And it comes and says you got 4 different markers out of balance out of 48. You say, oh, I guess that whole protocol didn't work. No, it worked really well. When you first started, you may have had 26 out of balance. Now you have 4. So the protocols are working. You just got to stay at it longer, right? But you never know unless you have your starting point. That's why You have to have a baseline to begin with. Nadina is here from Wollongong, Australia. I'm going to get that right yet, Nadina. Wollongong. I hope that's correct. I hope that's the way to say it. Grace is here. Hello, Grace. Wanda from Long Island. And I'm trying to scroll back. Marzi posted or said there was a question, and I can't find it right now. So I'm going to look on my phone here and see if I can find it on my phone. I'm going to go back to see. Okay, here's one from Carol. It says, what if you don't eat wheat, dairy, gluten, sugar, and eat organic? What test then? The same test, Carol. The same test, because it's startling. You've been squeaky clean, wheat-free for a number of years, as an example, and you do the Wheat Zoomer Plus, it comes back positive. But I'm squeaky clean. Let me give you just one example, because then when you investigate, you find, and this paper came out, arguably the #1 medical journal in the English language for your digestive tract is called Gastroenterology. It comes from the American College of Gastroenterologists. It's the first-tier journal. An article came out in March of this year, and the article identified, they had 804, I think it was, I'm not sure, 800 plus investigators that went into restaurants all around the country. And they had been given this test equipment that is pretty accurate test equipment, about 96% accurate. And they went into gluten-free restaurants and they ordered from the menu. After the waiter or waitress left to go place the order, they opened up their suitcase and brought out the test equipment and put it on a table. The waiter comes with the food, they take the food and they test it for gluten. These are gluten-free restaurants. And they looked at 5,624 different items on gluten-free restaurants. 800 plus investigators looked at 5,300 or 624 different items. What did they find? 32% of everything they test is not gluten-free. It's got toxic levels of gluten. In gluten-free restaurants, 54% of gluten-free pizzas are not gluten-free. 52% of gluten-free pasta is not gluten-free. Dinners had higher percentage of contaminated food compared to breakfast, but breakfast also had it. Breakfast was in the 20%, 26%, I think, something like that. Not sure, it was somewhere around there. I don't remember that one. But 1/3 of everything in a gluten-free restaurant is not gluten-free. So you're squeaky clean, gluten-free. You go to a gluten-free restaurant feeling comfortable. You order gluten-free pasta. You say, oh, this is really good. You enjoy it like I do every once in a while. But you find out later it was not gluten-free. And you still have inflammation in your gut, or you have some symptoms. Your joints are acting up. Say, boy, why are my joints acting up? I don't know what it is that's causing that. By the way, if you think this is valuable right now, send a text to your child or your spouse or your friend, say, hey, tune into this one, because I'm on a roll, and I'll be on a roll for another half hour with you guys. So bring more people. You know, the more people that hear this and the more you share this, the sooner we turn this world around, right? Right? So that's why we're doing this. So you do not need to do a gluten challenge to do the Wheat Zoomer. Everyone should do the Wheat Zoomer, especially those who are gluten-free, to confirm that what you're doing is working. Because that test is so sensitive and so accurate, it's right on the money every time, every time. Mayo Clinic calls this test a new era in laboratory medicine. Marzi sent me a text here. Let me see. Here we go. The question was from Dorothy. In your book, you said you were in great health coming back from China? No, I haven't been to China. And you realize it was from all the rice you ate. So rice is okay. Oh, I see. Oh, that's when I lived in Japan. Yeah, in Japan. And I ate a lot of rice. I didn't eat any wheat. I was in my 20s, stud guy living in a martial arts school. So the question is rice okay? Rice in general is safer. It doesn't have the toxic gluten proteins that wheat, rye, and barley have. But if you have a sensitivity to rice, rice is a problem for you. And people who eat gluten-free substitute products like rice or quinoa or all those things, sometimes there are problems with, in this case, you ask about rice. Unfortunately, rice, as you know, grows in rice paddies. Rice paddies have standing water in them. Rice plants grow in water. The standing water in rice paddies that the rice plant grows in comes from the streams and from the rivers around where the farmers are. The streams and the rivers have all of the insecticide and pesticide residue that has been washing down for 30 years off of the land, into the streams, into the rivers, and then you get the water out from there that sits in the rice paddies. So the rice is a grain that often is very high in arsenic. Arsenic, when you have high levels of arsenic, will cause cancer and many other conditions, neurological conditions. So, we have such a polluted world today, we have to come on the offensive. So yes, rice is good in general, but if you're eating a lot of rice, you need to do a heavy metal test once in a while. And you go to our website, and Marzi can post the link for heavy metal tests so you can read more about them. Or if you do my course called what's the course called? The Brain Masterclass. If you do the Brain Masterclass, and Marzi will post the link to the Brain Masterclass, we talk all about this kind of thing. There's over 80 videos that I've done, each on a specific topic, so that you do it over time. We kind of, what's the term they use? Leak it out to you, like one a week or two a week, so that you're not too overwhelmed. But you want to watch them all at once, you can, but we suggest you do one or two a week and take time to think about that topic, right? But it's an education process about the world we're living in, and how do you protect yourself? How do you begin the journey to optimal health? So thank you, Dorothy, for that question. In general, rice is okay. I eat rice. Probably, I guess it averages twice a week. And I do a heavy metal test on myself once every 2 years. And there are different types of tests you can do. That's all outlined in the Brain Masterclass, about all that stuff. But I think everyone should do a heavy metal test at least once and do the right kind of test. So there are 3 kinds of heavy metal testing. The first one is a hair analysis. And you can only use 1 inch of hair from the nape of your neck. And if it's longer, you have to cut it and throw the rest away because it's too old. So 1 inch of hair is about 2 months worth of growth. And if it's a good lab, then the hair analysis will tell you everything, all the minerals and metals that are in your blood will be in that inch of hair. So that tells you what you've been exposed to in the last 2 months. Then there are blood tests, which the government endorsed when you're checking children for lead and things like that. Blood tests are very accurate, but that's only what's gotten into your bloodstream in the last 2 weeks, because your body does everything it can to get this stuff out of the blood. Get it away from the brain. Get it off the highway. So it gets thrown into storage. And so when you have an acute exposure, you would do a blood test to see if there are a whole bunch of things on the highway. The third test is called a provocative challenge, where you take these things that are like magnets to pull this stuff out of storage that's in your system, if it's in your brain, in your bones, places like that. And then you take these capsules and then you collect your urine for 24 hours. That's called a provocative challenge. And that's one that we always do, that we recommend. I personally think it's the most accurate test out there. So everyone should do a heavy metal test every once in a while. Sherry asks, are both needed, or does the more comprehensive one include the wheat? Oh, that she's referring to the Wheat Zoomer and the Neural Zoomer Plus. Oh, they're both needed. The Wheat Zoomer Zoomer looks at 26 peptides of wheat, really important, plus the markers for intestinal permeability, the leaky gut. And the Neural Zoomer looks at 48 different, the Neural Zoomer Plus looks at 48 different markers of inflammation in your brain. Because your inflammation in the brain can be because if you have antibodies to dairy, because of something called molecular mimicry, which many of you have heard me talk about a number of times, and it's in both of my books, you can make antibodies to myelin basic protein. If you have elevated antibodies to myelin basic protein, which is a saran wrap around your nerves, you have elevated antibodies, you get MS, or numbness and tingling. But if you're not checking for myelin basic protein antibodies, if you're checking for cerebellar antibodies, 26% of everyone in my practice that had elevated antibodies to wheat also had elevated antibodies to cerebellum. So if you check for cerebellar antibodies and they're there, you got a problem. And that's why, one reason why, the most common reason, I think, why elders can't dance up and down the stairs is because it's not their muscles, they can't do it, but the proprioception in their feet, how your feet tell you how you're standing, sends messages all the way up to your brain. But the area of the brain is the cerebellum. And if you've been attacking your cerebellum for years because you have a sensitivity to wheat and molecular mimicry is attacking your cerebellum, then you get what's called cerebellar atrophy, and you have problems with walking as an elder. And that's called ataxia. There are many different degrees of that. But if you're not checking the cerebellar antibodies, you'll never know. If you're only checking myelin antibodies, you may not have myelin antibodies, you may have cerebellar antibodies. And there's 48 different ones, markers that you look for to find out, is my brain on fire right now? And if so, how many markers of my brain on fire are there? And then you recheck in 6 months to a year and you see, oh, good, it's down by half. I'm doing great. So it's going to take a little bit longer, but I'm on the right path. And if it's not getting better, then wrong protocol, wrong program. Monique says, are your services an educational program versus doctor consultation, advice, and coaching? And can you use any test results from previous functional medicine doctors so discouraged with local resources? Fully understand. So the education programs that I give you is for you guys to get the big picture overview. And there are many things you can apply for yourself. For example, you get rid of the plastic blinds covering your windows when you can. You target for that. And you put wood up there because the plastic leaches phthalates into the air. And your house dust is full of all of the toxins in your environment. And so you know those kind of things you learn in the educational programs. And you clean your shower head. You change out your shower head and then you clean the new ones every 6 months to a year with white vinegar that's at least 8%. You can't use 6%, it's got to be 8% or higher. So you learn all of these things of what to do in the education videos. The theDr.com consultation services that Marzio put the link in here to you for is our team giving you consultations. Yes, we look at other test results. And yes, we give you guidelines on what these tests mean, and you might want to consider doing this. We're not going to be your doctors. You have your primary doctor, and we'll say, now take these test results to your primary doctor, because if you're on high blood pressure medication, you don't go off your high blood pressure medication without the consent of the doctor that prescribed it to you. But you go back to say, Doc, I've learned that I have some food sensitivities, you know, I'm exercising now and I'm taking some nutrients. I've changed my eating style, talking to some nutritionists that I met online. And would you monitor me and my blood pressure as I'm going through this change? And would you help me reduce my blood pressure safely? Any doctor says no to that, you find a new doctor to monitor your blood pressure, right? But we can't act as your doctors on the internet, but we can give you advice and recommendations that you can then take to your doctor so that you can reduce the need. We help reduce the need for the medications. You get confirmation from the doctor that prescribed it to you. And Grace asks, are there any grains that are okay to eat? Yes, grains that are safe. Not wheat, not rye, not barley, unfortunately, for anyone. I've been doing a lot of talking in that recently. I'm showing 5 different studies on every human has a problem with wheat. Every human gets intestinal permeability when they eat wheat. Every human. If you're human, if you're watching this and you're human, this means you. But it's usually transient intestinal permeability, meaning it heals. Fastest growing cells in the body are the inside lining of your gut, so it heals. But then you have a sandwich for lunch, you tear the lining, but it heals. You have pasta for dinner, you tear the lining, but it heals. The inside lining of the gut heals every 2 to 3 days. But one day, you don't heal anymore. When your microbiome is so damaged, you don't heal anymore. Now you've got leaky gut, which is the gateway into the development of autoimmune diseases, right? So wheat, rye, and barley, out, just out. And you need to take some digestive enzymes to protect you when you go out to eat. As I mentioned in the beginning of this episode, talking about the article in Gastroenterology and how the gluten-free food is contaminated. And that's E3 Advanced Plus that Marzi will put the link right here for you so you can get that. And you take it every time that you're going out to eat, every time. And every time you eat a grain. Why? One study looked at 15 different cultivars of quinoa. Oh, quinoa is so healthy for you. There's no gluten in quinoa. Yes, there is. 4 of the 15 had toxic levels of gluten. Well, wait, when quinoa grows out of the ground, there's no gluten in them. That used to be the case because quinoa comes from elevations, the high plateaus in Peru. But they've taken that plant and they crossbred it with grasses from the Midwest to grow quinoa in the US. Now, some of the cultivars of quinoa have toxic levels of gluten in them. And there's no way that you know. So it's every time you eat a grain, I don't care what grain, rice, quinoa, amaranth, almond meal, anytime you're eating a grain, you always take the digestive enzyme with you. You take it at the same time to help protect you and digest any inadvertent exposures that you're getting. Donna asks, what if known celiacs still take the test? Absolutely, absolutely. We have many celiacs that eventually come back negative on the test because we know we've calmed it all down. But you have to have the marker to begin with so that you know when you are done. Well, Doc, how long do I take the nutrients for? Well, the digestive enzymes permanently to help your system digest the contamination we're exposed to, but to any other things we give you, like to help with healing the gut, to help with joint repair or brain cell repair, all of the types of supplements that we might recommend to you, you take them until there's no indicators in the testing that you need it anymore. So then you stop for 3 months, 6 months, and if you're still feeling great, then you go back and test one more time and still make sure that those markers are normal. And if that's the case, now your lifestyle is supplying everything you need, and you don't need those particular supplements anymore. That's the only way I know how to do it with not shotgunning and hoping for the best. Roseanne asks, a diagnosis with H. pylori in June through endoscopy. Functional doctor put me on a supplement. How will I know when it's gone? Is there a test? Move to another state, can't see that doctor anymore. Sure, there's a couple of tests for H. pylori. The most sensitive one that I've used and believe is most sensitive is when you look at your immune system. Is your immune system making antibodies, elevated antibodies to H. pylori? And if this was just in June, it's likely still is right now. No, actually, that's not true because it's been at least, we're in September, so that's about 3 months. Depending on the protocol you did, I'd wait just a little bit longer. As long as your symptoms are all gone, I'd wait 4 to 6 months and then retest. Or if you didn't have a first test, you could do the test now to see, do I have elevated antibodies to H. pylori? And if you do, then it's not complete. But great that it's been identified. Excellent. That will save you so many problems. When H. pylori was first identified as a contributor to gut problems, the World Health Organization sent that study, this was 1988, sent that study out to every medical society in the world. Why? Because H. pylori is the most common cause that I've ever read for the development of stomach cancer. And stomach cancer, #1 cancer in the world, stomach cancer. So the World Health Organization says every medical society needs to know about H. pylori and ulcers. And so that if you find it with gastric upset, you deal with it right now. And that's why it's so important to deal with H. pylori. Let's see. Marzi's sending questions left and right. Thank you all for the questions. And let me go to the next one. Base hits. Oh yeah, thank you, honey. Thank you. How do you begin the journey to optimal health? I did 5 videos on this for you, and I'm just going to confirm the name of the videos with you so that I know they're there. 5 videos, and the first one I did, no, the last one was a Q&A on the other 4 videos, and then it's toxicity and detox in your home, health and lifestyle, toxicity and detox. What happens when you're using regular nail polish and the phthalates, the chemicals that mold plastic that are in nail polish, get into your bloodstream? What happens? Well, what you learn is that they inhibit, one of the many things they do is they inhibit neurogenesis, new brain cells, from the new nerve cells from developing. And with a pregnant mom, their kids had lower IQs at 7 years of age. And it's because of all the phthalates that mom had in them, not just nail polish, but sources of phthalates like the plastic lids on coffee cups full of phthalates. And when you drink the coffee through that plastic lid, you get the phthalates. Or the plastic storage containers we put our food in the refrigerator. So all those kind of things are in the first video, toxicity and detox. The next one is called inflammation, the root of so many health issues. And we talk about, oh, by the way, in the toxicity and detox, we talk about what are the supplements to take, what are the ones that are safe and easy to use, and what are the protocols to do, what are castor oil packs, where do I get this stuff? We do all of that so you can start the detox process. Next one's on inflammation, the root of so many health issues, and what are the anti-inflammatory things that you can take? What are the foods that really help? The next one is heal and seal the gut, the gateway to health. Remember I said a minute ago, intestinal permeability, when it becomes permanent, the gateway in the development of autoimmune diseases. So you have to learn how to heal and seal the gut. All of our information is in there, and that's and what products to use and where do you get them. And then we also give you a copy of the Autoimmune Fix, my book, the Autoimmune Fix. That's like 26 bucks on Amazon. So all of that is there, in a downloadable free recipe book full of recipes that you can start off with. I mean, they're great recipes. They're from my books. And that is Begin the Base Hits. Marzi will put the link in here to you for that. You want to get started on your own. You don't want to yet talk to my team, the consultation, have a consultation with the team. This is how you do it safely, is you do the Begin the Base Hits program. Remember, guys, I've said so many times, base hits win the ball game. Base hits win the ball game, not home runs. And you have to learn what are all the base hits, and that's why the subtitle of my book is just 1 hour a week to the best memory, productivity, and sleep you've ever had, so that you understand over the 1 hour every week, you do this, you do this, you do this. And in 6 months, you've got it down. Your lifestyle has changed dramatically. Melissa said, any correlation between diet and narcolepsy? Sure, you bet there is. The neurotransmitters, the nerve hormones that contribute to the environment of narcolepsy and the amount of toxins that accumulate in the brain. Oh my God, narcolepsy patients, brains, the NeuroZoomer Plus. You do that test, here's where all the inflammation is in your brain. And you start addressing that and notice the results. Consistently with brain dysfunction, people notice they start functioning better. It might be foods, it might be heavy metals, it might be toxic air. You got mold in your house. Just go to Google and type in mold and narcolepsy and see what you find. And you'll find all of these different factors that's overwhelming. That's why you need this concept of begin the base hits. 1 hour a week to just learn a little bit more, learn a little bit more, learn a little bit more. Matthew says, rice, prolamine, orzanin. It's not good either for gluten-sensitive people, is it? Well, it depends. That's not true for everyone, Matthew, but for some gluten-sensitive people, rice can initiate a molecular mimicry. It's not that common, but it can. But rice has, as I said earlier, has high arsenic. Unfortunately, it's really common that it's high in arsenic. So I'm not sure it's a good idea to eat a lot of rice. I mean, it's really hard. So what do I eat is a question that's commonly asked. And what I do, as I said, is I do the heavy metal test every couple of years to see what's my current status. I know I'm not in heavy metal environments, but I travel a lot. Did I eat rice? I had rice last night. On top of, I'm in Seattle, so I had this wild salmon, which was great, with wild mushrooms. And it was here in the hotel at the restaurant they served it. They served it over a bed of risotto. And honey, is cheese-free risotto. Don't worry about that. And so I had rice last night, so it just depends on the individual. Beginning the base hits. Liz is here from the UK. She says, I have a question. Can you outgrow food intolerance? My child's intolerant to gluten, eggs, white potatoes, and carrots. Feeding times are becoming a nightmare. There's a lot of evidence that children outgrow IgE reactions. IgE, the classic allergy, that they outgrow that. About 50%, I think it's 46 or 54%, one's for children, one's for adults, I don't remember which is which, will outgrow IgE allergies. The others, no, you don't outgrow them. Now, you can change the environment of the gut and create a less inflammatory environment in the gut, which has tremendous results. And many times the foods that a person is sensitive to will turn around in a number of months, 3, 6 months, something like that, sometimes a year. And people can eat that food without activating the antibodies to be produced again. Absolutely. And one of the keys to that is rebuilding the microbiome. Liz, I'd recommend that you have a consultation with Michelle Ross at consultations@theDr.com. Michelle was a 4th grade teacher, school teacher for many years. And she's an excellent, excellent nutritionist, one of the best in the world in clinical practice, one of the best, very best. And she can guide you through how to work with your child and how to put together the program. And then you recheck that child in the future to make sure that they're getting better. And also, of course, what are the options? What can you feed your child now? We've got all kinds of things that you can do for that. So that's in there. Kristen says, hi, Dr. Tom from Pennsylvania. I have a hard time staying on track long enough for improvements. Welcome to the world of being human. Been at this for over a year and a half. Finally was able to afford biome and genetic testing a few months ago. The struggle with depression is really holding me back. I know it stems from the gut, but I'm impatient, waiting for the improvements. One of the things I'd suggest, Kristen, is avoid being your own doctor. Guys, when you try stuff and it seems to help a little bit, but not completely, or it's not helping, go to consultations@theDr.com. Talk to my team. They're trained in this. This is what we do. If what I'm saying makes sense to you, it's worth the investment to get some guidance. And if resources are a concern, maybe have one session and say, look, I can't afford much, so maybe I can come back in a couple months. What can I do in the meantime? And develop a plan. My team will help you develop a plan so that you can move in the direction of more optimal health. I said this recently on stage. I just made it up, but it made so much sense. I'm going to say it much more often. You want to know how you know when your microbiome's healthy without doing expensive tests and all that? How do you know it's healthy? Because you say to your spouse or your partner, when you can say regularly, I just had the best bowel movement of my life and I feel great. When you can say that to your partner, when your gut is functioning that well, then you're in good shape. And that's what all humans are supposed to have. We're all supposed to have that. Get the Bristol chart. It's on our website, or my team will send it to you. Get the Bristol chart and just chart, for a week on your refrigerator, what number, Bristol 1, Bristol 2, Bristol 3, what type of bowel movement did you have? And then what did you eat the day before? And if you keep track for a week, you're going to notice every time you eat corn, you go from having pretty good bowel movements to really terrible ones. I was going to say crappy, but then that's a pun, and I didn't want to do a pun. So take a look, and understand that's a biomarker that you can use, is when you can say, oh man, that felt great. Oh, all right, I'm ready to go on my day. One of the things that helps in the morning to get your gut moving, everybody should be drinking 2 big glasses of water as soon as you get up. And some people like hot water with lemon, great, that's 2.5 then. But 2 glasses of water right away, without exception. For a child, 1 glass of water. But for adults, 2 glasses of water. Everybody goes to the bathroom when you wake up, but after that, the very next thing, go get 2 glasses of water. Carol said, I don't eat out. I eat local organic veggies, some wild salmon, organic and pastured eggs, local olive oil, and local fruit. Okay, I will do the Zoomer. Great, Carol, great. And invite us over to dinner. You're our kind of people, right? I mean, we all need to eat this way. We all do. And unfortunately, the world's getting more and more toxic. But Carol, if you're the one person ever that comes back positive to both of those tests, I bow down to you. And I don't think it's going to happen. You'll be surprised that there's work to do, because the world is so toxic, and we'll help you identify, if need be, where's it coming from? Is it the air you're breathing? Is it the emotional state? In my book, You Can Fix Your Brain, I talk about the pyramid of health. What's a pyramid? Well, there's 3 sides to a pyramid. No, there's 4. There's also a base. The base is structure. And the 3 sides are biochemistry, what you drink, what you breathe, emotional or spiritual, and electromagnetic. So any of the 4 sides of the pyramid of health can be the trigger that's still causing the problems for you. So it's overwhelming, I know, and I can't expect people to be functional medicine practitioners themselves, but you understand the concepts, and then you work with our team, someone really good, but you've already understood the concept. So when we start talking about nail polish, you aren't going to give us a bunch of flack. So it's going to take you a couple of times. You're going to go on Google and look for a list of organic nail polishes, or you'll get organic cosmetics in my book. A couple of references in there, like theDr.com, and then there's some others. And you're going to order their nail polish, and you're going to try and say, I don't really like it. Then you order a different one. You say, oh, that's nice. I can use that one. I feel good about that. Well, it took you a couple of times, but now you got it for the rest of your life. This grunt work has to be done with everything that we're exposed to. We're not living in the world that was as clean as it was in the 1950s and 1960s. It's a very toxic world today, and it's not going to get better. This is a wake-up call for all of us. Cindy says, will insurance ever, in capital letters, begin to cover, even in part, tests like this? So expensive. I know, Cindy, I know. And I guess my answer to that would be, there's a very famous picture, affectionately referred to as the four horsemen? Yeah, the 4 horsemen. And it was the heads of the 4 largest HMOs in the country testifying before Congress. They stood up there before Congress like this. The most famous picture was called the 7 Dwarfs. And it was the heads of the 7 largest tobacco companies in the country testifying before Congress. And the same type of picture a few years later, the 4 horsemen. Now it's the HMO industry testifying before Congress. And one of the CEOs was direct enough to say this and to plant the idea in the senators on that committee in their mind. He said, senators, our average customer, insurance policies with us, they change their policy every 2.4 years, maybe been 2.7, but just over 2 years. People change their health insurance policies. They're looking for something cheaper, better coverage. Why should we pay for tests that prevent disease where we benefit 20 years of a patient not getting diabetes or heart attacks, why should we pay for that test when we won't get the benefit? Because people change health insurance. And that's a really rational question when you're talking about a company that needs to make a profit to stay in business. That's a rational question. What does that mean? Well, it means like Sweden's got socialized medicine, Canada's got socialized medicine. They're not ideal systems. Canada's not ideal. You have to wait for months to see somebody. But the idea, the concept is, should the government be covering healthcare costs? And the answer is, you want holistic healthcare? Insurance companies aren't going to pay for it because you're going to change your policy every few years, and you aren't going to get that heart attack or that Alzheimer's 20 years from now because you did the Neural Zoomer Plus. You spent the $600, whatever it is, for the Neural Zoomer Plus, and you realize you had all these problems and you apply these principles, you change your life, and when you recheck, it's now normal. Well, the company isn't going to benefit from paying for that because you're going to change health insurance policies in a couple of years. That's why insurance won't pay for it. And you can't argue with that. That just makes sense. Konstantinos writes, hello, I have performed some tests for gluten sensitivity. The antibodies at tissue transcontaminase, EMA, and Tiglidin are negative. And from the genetics, I have, let's see, you have HLA DQB1. You've got DQB1 and DQA1 positive. I have problems with IBS. Should I avoid gluten? The answer is absolutely yes. The tests that you're using to determine if you have a sensitivity to wheat are 25 years old. They were created in 1998, 1996. And the wheat zoomer is generations above that test. You do the wheat zoomer, you'll find the problem. And Marzi will post the link here to the wheat zoomer. Cheryl says, can you recommend dentists for mercury removal? Yeah, they're called biological dentists. And Google biological dentists in your area and see what you find. A really good book that talks about biological dentistry, and it's a good book for everybody to read if it's still available, is my friend Dr. John Klein with a C, and it's called Detoxify for Life. And he has a biological dentist in his practice. He's a medical doctor and a friend and a fellow faculty here at IFM. And it's a good book elaborating on biological dentistry and how important it is. Let's see, Amal says, analytical research labs is the best for hair tissue mineral analysis. Never use a lab that washes your hair sample. In 3 weeks, the blood's, okay, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Let's see, Grace says, can I view this later? Yes, Grace, you can. Just go to the theDr.com Facebook page and click under live videos. They're all there. I just found them when I was trying to get on today. I said, oh, live. So I clicked on that, but it was all the old videos we did. So I didn't even know they're there, but they're there. Lori says, what is your opinion of prescriptions such as Aricept for the brain? Do these medicines help mask symptoms or actually cause more damage? Really good question, Lori. Aricept doesn't help at all. It's very short-term, inconsequential results. 2 pharmaceutical companies in the last 3 years, and there are probably more, I know of 2, shut down their Alzheimer's research departments trying to find a drug, a cure for Alzheimer's, laid off all the researchers because they know there's never going to be a cure. So, Laura, you may not be familiar with this concept. It comes from my friend, Dr. Dale Bredesen. But imagine an old factory. The windows are all kicked out. There's gang graffiti on the inside walls. There's 36 holes in the roof and puddles of water on the floor from when it rained. That's your brain with Alzheimer's. You guys come back positive on Neural Zoomer Plus. That's what's happening in your brain, is the holes in the roof coming down and through. There's never going to be a cure for that, ever. There's never going to be a pill for that. You have to fix 36 holes in the roof to stop the leak. And Dr. Bredesen's book is called The End of Alzheimer's. It's a great book. I saw Dr. Bredesen a number of months ago now. I said, Dale, how you doing? He said, good, Tom. How are you? I said, good, good. And he said, my book is in 18 languages. I think it was 18. And I said, oh, you dog. Mine's only in 7. So I bow to you, Dale. You're the master. It's a really good book. It's called The End of Alzheimer's. My book, You Can Fix Your Brain. We got notice about a week and a half ago. It's very cool that it's #1 in the largest bookstore chain in South Korea. It's #1. Well, that's really great because it's in Korean and 6 other languages. So Lori, you really want to consider my brain masterclass. Those 80 videos, we give you the big picture overview plus recommendations of where do I start? What do I do? And we talk about this test, or look at this in your home, or look at the particulate matter in the air in your city, and here's the URL to look for that stuff, and you find out what might be affecting your brain. You want to know how bad the air is in your city? Go to a car wash, a nice car wash. The guy's got a water bottle on his hip, and he goes, right? And he wipes down your car, the windows and all that. You go to the car wash, and then drive home, leave your car outside, set your alarm for 4 hours later, go outside and run your hand across the windshield of your car. That's what you're breathing all day, every day. You can't see it, you can't smell it, you can't taste it, but that's the particulate matter that you're breathing that goes right up to your brain. And for any of you that have a concern about brain function, for any of you that have that concern, the first thing you do is the smell test. And Marzi will put the link in there to the smell test. It's inexpensive, very inexpensive, and you go to theDr.com/smell, and I've got a couple of videos for you there, plus 5 different research papers. You can download the paper. One of them is an article from Scientific American that you read. Oh my God, I had no idea about this, because smell is an indicator of brain deterioration. When you're losing your sense of smell, there's 14 different studies that identify it as a biomarker of preclinical Alzheimer's. So you're losing your sense of smell, but you think you're fine? Well, you're not. And that can be the motivation for you to do the Brain Masterclass, to do the Brain Neural Zoomer Plus, and to dial down on this one. 6 months from a year to a year from now, your Brain Neural Zoomer Plus is back in the normal range or coming down into the normal range. So for the next 20, 30 years, you've learned how to protect your brain. That's the whole concept here, folks. And so that's the smell test. And Marzi will post the link in there for that one so that you can, it's inexpensive, it's easy to do, it's really simple, it's very cool. Okay, Lori says, please, oh please clarify, I have 2 questions. 1, I tested positive for IgG and secretory IgA gluten antibodies, okay? I wanna know if I'm also sensitive to corn. I'm looking at the corn Zoomer. Cyrex Array 4 costs $400, the corn Zoomer is $374. Corn plus a bunch of others, but will the Cyrex Array show me the corn wheat overlap epitope? No. Do I need to eat all of these antigens before getting tested? No. No. You don't want to do challenge. You don't have to do challenge for these tests. You want to know, what's my current lifestyle doing to me? And if you have corn once in a while, then if you have antibodies to corn and you eat corn once a month, you got a problem with corn. You don't have to eat more corn to do the test. For my friends who have not already tested positive for elevated gluten antibodies, how do they choose between Wheat Zoomer and Cyrex Array 3? It's apples and oranges. The Wheat Zoomer is more comprehensive and more sensitive, meaning more specific and more on the money. The Cyrex Array 3 is a really good test. We've used it for years, but technology improves. And now the Wheat Zoomer is generations above that technology. They're both really good tests, but the Wheat Zoomer is more comprehensive, and it also looks at intestinal permeability markers. So you get those 2 different factors done in one test. If you did an IgG test and had several foods you had antibodies to, how often should you retest if you cleaned up your diet? Oh, 6 months to a year. 6 months to a year. As long as you've healed your intestinal permeability. Because if you've got a number of foods that you're sensitive to, people that do a 90 food panel, IgG panel, they come back sensitive to 5, 10, 15, 20 different foods. They say, oh my God, that's everything I eat. Well, of course it is. Your immune system's trying to protect you because you have a leaky gut, and you have to heal the leaky gut. Are you seeing more patients reversing brain disorders? And wait a minute, I just lost that question. Where did it go? That sounded like a good question. Are you seeing more patients reversing brain disorders that adopt a solid protocol? Absolutely. Absolutely. Your test results start to come back more positive. Critically important. That's why you guys want to look at the Brain Masterclass, because it's the yellow canary in the coal mine. And as I started off this session with here, 1/3 of elders die with Alzheimer's or another dementia. So it's not a rare disease anymore. It's very, very common. 1/3 of people don't have heart attacks. This is now the #1 concern, is brain deterioration. 1/3 of all of us will die with dementia, unless you follow these protocols and reduce the inflammation that's triggering it. And that's what you have to learn about. So that's what the Brain Masterclass is about. That's why you do the NeuroZoomer Plus. That's why you do the Wheat Zoomer as that's why you read the book, You Can Fix Your Brain, is so that you can gather information about that stuff. All right, Liz, Liz, I answered your question. Thank you for joining. Thank you all for joining from all over the world. It's always a pleasure to be with you. It's 5:08 now here in Seattle Pacific time, and so we've been just over an hour. And as always, it's a pleasure. Love talking to you guys. Love seeing your little hearts and your thumbs and stuff. And please share this. And I assume that everyone here already has liked us on Facebook. You know, the more likes we get and the more followers we have, the more Facebook sends us out into the world for more people to see. That's why I ask you to share the video, make some comments about this if you find this is of value. Take 1 minute. I just took an hour out of my life. Take 1 minute to make a comment here, like it, like the Facebook page, and send it to somebody who you think would benefit from it. If everybody does that, just these, I gave a talk last week, where was it? In Santa Barbara, to a group of about 100 doctors. And one guy sets up these talks every month for that functional forum group. And in a different city, it's somebody else that sets them up. And they spend hours doing it. I said, if everyone in this room gave Dr. Weiss 1 hour a year, and everybody laughed. No, 1 hour a year, where you said, hey man, how can I help you for 1 hour? What can I do to help for an hour? With 100 people in the room, 1 hour a year, that would be 10 to 11 hours a month, which would allow Dr. Weiss to expand this, to bring more vendors in who pay for food, so you guys get better food when you come, because doctors come after seeing patients all day straight to a talk like mine, and they're fed there and all that. So if we all do this much to carry this kind of message out, if this is a good message, if you got value from this today, please take 1 minute and say so, and like the page and share it with somebody. All right, that's enough. Thank you all so very much. Thank you, Marzi, for staying up so late. Love you. We'll see you soon. And I'll see all of you next week, Tuesday at 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern, 8:30 a.m. Wednesday morning in Australia, and everywhere else in the world. Thank you so much. See you next week. Bye-bye.